Every day, millions of people make the same mistake. They forget about safety. One wrong move, one moment of distraction, and work turns into tragedy. On this channel, we show how a single mistake changes everything. Stay safe. A worker is helping a forklift driver reverse, but then walks into his blind spot. The driver, not seeing his helper, continues to move and the collision occurs. The cause was a loss of visual contact in a danger zone. This case is an important lesson that the driver and spotter must maintain constant eye contact, and movement must stop immediately if it is lost. A factory worker is standing next to equipment on which a large coil of sheet steel is mounted. Suddenly, the coil unravels, and its edge strikes the person at high speed. The cause was an uncontrolled release of the material. This case is an important lesson about the stored energy in tightly wound coils and the need to stay out of their potential unraveling zone or breakage path. A man climbs to the top of a tall palm tree to cut off its crown. During the work, the trunk beneath him breaks, and the person falls along with the severed part. The cause was an extremely risky work method and a complete lack of safety gear. Working at height without proper equipment and risk assessment is a gross violation that often leads to severe consequences. A worker places his head inside the operational zone of a large machine, likely for inspection. Suddenly, the mechanism starts to move and strikes him. The cause was entering the danger zone of equipment that was not de-energized. This is an important lesson that any work inside machinery requires it to be completely stopped and locked out beforehand. Two workers are in a construction cradle at a great height during a strong sandstorm. The wind swings the platform and smashes it against the building, which leads to the structure's collapse. The cause was working in extreme weather conditions. This case is an important lesson that during high winds, any work at height on such structures must be stopped immediately, and people must be evacuated. A worker is standing on an industrial site, completely absorbed in his phone. He is struck by a forklift that is carrying a load, which was likely obstructing the driver's view. The cause was mutual inattention. This case is an important lesson that using phones in hazardous areas is unacceptable, and moving with an obstructed view requires extreme caution or spotter. A worker on the bed of a truck is loosening the restraints on a large steel coil. The coil loses its balance, falls, and knocks the man off the truck to the ground. The cause was an incorrect sequence of actions during unloading. The restraints on such an unstable load must only be loosened after it has been securely fixed by a lifting mechanism. A forklift, likely due to an overload or uneven surface, loses its balance and begins to tip over. A worker nearby instinctively tries to hold back the multi-ton machine, but it falls and covers him. The cause of the incident was an instinctive but incorrect reaction. This case is an important lesson that trying to stop falling heavy machinery by hand is futile and extremely dangerous. The correct action is to evacuate the danger zone. A worker are standing by a large industrial machine. Suddenly, one of them is sharply pulled downwards into a rotating mechanism. The cause was working near equipment with unguarded moving parts. This case is an important lesson that all danger zones and rotating components of machinery must be covered with reliable safety guards. A worker is standing on a stack of boxes lifted by a forklift to get cargo from truck bed. He loses his balance and falls from a height onto his back. The cause of the incident was using a forklift as a personnel lift, which is strictly forbidden. For work at height, specialized equipment, such as lifting platforms with guardrails, must be used. A worker is standing on temporary scaffolding. Due to instability, the structure tips over and the person falls from a height. The cause of the incident was the use of improperly assembled or unsecured scaffolding. This case is an important lesson that any temporary structures at height must be absolutely stable, and workers are required to use fall protection. A worker is using a forklift as a personnel lift, standing on the forks above an industrial oven. At this moment, the oven doors open and the person is pinned between them and the forklift structure. This incident is the result of several gross violations at once: using a forklift to lift people and being in the danger zone of operating automation. Only specialized lifting platforms should be used for such tasks, and the movement zone of automatic doors must be kept clear. An excavator is working at the base of a damaged building, undermining its supports. Suddenly, the entire structure loses stability and collapses, covering the machine. The cause was an uncontrolled demolition by undermining. This case is an important lesson that building demolition must be carried out according to a strict plan and from a safe distance, not by such a risky method. A worker is standing next to a truck loaded with a large stack of sheet metal. Suddenly, the entire load slides off the truck bed and falls on the person. The cause was an unsecured and unstable load. This case is an important lesson that being in a potential fall zone of cargo during loading or unloading is strictly forbidden. A loading bridge collapsed under the weight of a worker and a heavy pallet, causing them to fall. This incident was caused by using an unsecured or underrated dock plate, which is a critical violation of safety rules. A crane is moving a heavy metal part while a worker is passing directly underneath it. Suddenly, a failure occurs and the load falls on the person. The cause was a likely rigging failure and a gross violation by the worker. This case is an important lesson that being under a raised load is strictly prohibited during all stages of its movement. A worker on a high platform falls after the railing he was leaning against and was likely tied off to suddenly breaks. This tragedy was caused by using an unreliable anchor point. This is a critical lesson that safety harnesses must only be attached to secure, load-bearing structures, never to temporary railings. A mobile crane tipped over onto a worker while attempting to lift a load that was too heavy. This tragedy is a direct result of overloading. Exceeding the permissible weight specified in the load chart is a critical violation of safety rules. A powerful blast of pressurized gas from a tanker truck's hatch launched a worker who was on it into the air. This incident is a direct result of opening a vessel without first releasing the excess pressure, which is a critical violation of safety rules. A worker climbs completely inside an industrial press to fix something. A few seconds later, the machine suddenly turns on and the descending plate pins him. The cause was being inside the equipment without it being completely locked out. This incident is an important lesson about the necessity of completely disconnecting the power before any maintenance or repairs inside a danger zone.